good to be here. For those of you that I've not met before, my name is Cheryl Shields, and I'm on the Student Ministries team. And you guys, tonight I am joined by the one and only Bri Perry, married to Matt. Just starting out, you guys, I just want you to know this is something that some of us, like, you could not get more personality different, Matt and Bri. Matt loves the microphone, loves to be on stage, and Bri is more of an introvert and behind the scenes. And I just turned to her and said, like, grab the microphone. She said, I've never talked in a microphone before. So I just want you guys to know that this is a really big deal that she is coming tonight to share her story. As we unpack her story, I'm going to be asking her questions and kind of doing a Q&A. As we unpack it, I one, ask that you give her the utmost respect and that you guys pay attention. Two, I just ask that you listen attentively, because there's some of you that have been through some stuff, some of you are going through some stuff, and some of you, things may happen in your future. And so you never know what someone needs to hear tonight. And so we just want to be open to what God's going to do. So I'm going to open us in a word of prayer, and then we're going to get started. Heavenly Father, God, I just thank you, one, for Bri's willingness to open her heart and tell us her story. And so, God, I just pray that you will give her just calmness right now, just comfort and calm her. She has not shared this with more than 5 people in her life. And so, God, I just thank you for her willingness. And I just pray that it will speak to those who need to hear it. And just be with us right now. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so can you tell us, once again, just to know he wants to shout out, who you're married to, how long you've been married, and what do you do for a job?
So I've been married to Matt for 8 months.
8 months, you guys. Okay, here we go.
And I'm a speech therapist for children who have moderate to severe disabilities in an outpatient clinic. I grew up here in San Diego and went to Olympian High School.
You guys, here for Olympian. Yeah. So that is a little bit about her. You guys, she's a local girl. So she grew up right here in our high school. We are in a series on relationships, and right now, tonight, we're focusing on broken relationships, when relationships go wrong. Sometimes we have these ideas of what a Cinderella romantic fairy tale, we see the Disney movies, but in reality, sometimes there's some brokenness that happens. And Bri, you've been in a bad relationship, is that right?
I have.
Okay, so back to dating. When were you first allowed to date?
I was first allowed to date when I was 16. My parents finally let me date.
Strict household that you grew up in.
Yes.
And so this first guy that you dated, how did you know him?
He was my mom's best friend's stepson. So my mom's best friend since middle school, it was her stepson, and I actually met him at a baby shower, of all places, where it was my mom's goddaughter's baby shower. So he was there, and he asked me for my phone number, and I gave it to him, me thinking like, oh, it's the first time I get to date. So from then on, we started talking.
So it starts out innocent and fun, so you guys start dating, and how did he treat you at the beginning of this relationship?
At the beginning, it was very what you imagine to be like a movie. He was very romantic and very caring, and just very in love with me in the sense that I felt like I wanted. So at first, it was really good.
And then you continued to date, and about a year into the relationship or so, what started to change and what happened?
He started to change a little bit in his personality. He started to be a little bit more controlling. And I didn't think a lot of it. He was just a little bit more wanting me to do certain things certain ways. And I just was like, I've never had a boyfriend, so I guess this is what it's like. And a year into it, I actually lost my virginity to him. And from then on, a lot of things just kind of went downhill.
So you start out dating, it's cute and fun at first, things get romantic, it gets physical, you lose your virginity to him, he starts becoming controlling. What ways is he starting to control you, and it kind of even got worse after you guys started sleeping together?
He was controlling a lot in the way that I looked. So a lot of it was my hair, just the way I dressed, or even like putting makeup on. The one time I remember that was like the most vivid that I remember, I had just went and got my hair trimmed, and I had really long hair in high school, and he freaked out. And he's like, you didn't ask me if you could cut your hair, and I was like, well, I didn't think I needed to tell you I needed to cut my hair. And I was sitting on his bed, and there's, at the time, like, he had a curtain where his closet door would have been, because they were doing remodeling in his house, and he pulled me from the edge of the bed and slammed me against the wall. And he kind of held my arm so tight that the next day in the morning I had like a fingerprint on my arm, like a bruise. And at that point my mom saw, and at that point I was playing water polo, so I was just like, some girl grabbed me really hard in water polo, just to kind of avoid the situation, but I never talked about it with him, and it never came up.
So he started controlling you, and he started getting physical with you, and you kind of out of fear, not knowing, like, is this normal, is this not, is whatever, you started covering up for him in a way and not letting anyone know. So your parents didn't know when this started happening. You guys started dating when you were 16. How long did you guys date through, how long did you guys date?
We dated for 4 years, so until a little bit after we graduated high school.
And how was the cycle? You talked about, like, so it started here, and then what happened as you guys dated more and more?
He was very violent a lot of the time. He had a very short temper, so a lot of what I would say I had to be very careful, because I felt like if I said anything the wrong way, he was just going to snap, and it was just going to be me trying to defend myself, but a lot of the time I would freeze, because I didn't know necessarily what to do. He forced himself on me sexually a lot of the times, and after every time he would either be physical, he would apologize to me and bring me flowers and be like the nicest person, and then again it would happen and he would get worse each time. It would just be more aggressive, more violent, and it was almost like I couldn't figure out why he was doing it. And
so she's going in this cycle of he's treating her nice, all of a sudden it gets physical, it gets violent, it's both physical and emotional abuse and words, and then also sexually. Something happened your senior year. Senior year comes with a lot of pressure. Those of you that are headed into your senior year, there's homecoming, there's prom night, there's grad night, and what happened your senior year with him?
Senior year, there was a lot going on. He had just turned 18, so he kind of started going and hanging out with his friends more and going out to parties and things like that. And I wasn't like that in high school, so I kind of just liked to stay home. And one time, I don't exactly remember what we were fighting about, but he had hit me in the face, and he'd never hit me in the face before. And so I didn't know what to do at all, because I'm sitting there trying to figure out how to cover a bruise on my face. And at the time, I didn't wear a lot of makeup. And he had pushed me around so hard, and I just don't remember half of it. So I don't know if he hit me hard enough for me not to know what was going on. But I went like a week later to go try prom dresses on with my mom, and as she's putting the dress on, she's like, what happened to you? Because I had bruises all over the place. And I just said it was from water polo, and water polo was like a few seasons ago. I just didn't know what else to say. And I could tell at that point, she was like, something's going on with you, and you're not telling me. But at that point, I started realizing that it was getting really bad, and I didn't know what to do or say to him at all.
So you're in kind of this trapped relationship where when someone's abusing you and you're just feeling like, okay, it'll get better, and then it gets worse, and you're in all that. Then came prom night. And you guys, I know with prom night, with dances, there is, society puts a lot of pressure on what is expected on prom night. And everyone goes to prom, and then they get a hotel room. There's a lot of pressure to sleep together on prom night. And at this point, you were deep into a bad relationship. And then what happened that made things even worse on prom night and the prom experience?
So the night of prom itself was fun. Just the dancing, being with my friends. Some of my guy friends, they would tell me like, oh, you look pretty, or I like your hair, and he was getting so mad, and I could tell he was getting mad. And so when we were going home, what I thought was going home, he was like, I'm gonna take you to my house, and I was like, no, can you please take me home? And he's like, no, I'm taking you to my house. And so at that point I was like, should I call my mom? But I don't want him to get more mad. I'm in the car with him by myself, like what's gonna happen? So we get to his house, and he pushed me on the bed, and I was like, I want to go home, because I kind of knew something was going to happen. I just didn't know like how aggressive or how upset he was. So he pushed me down, and I remember it's the first time I actually tried to fight him off, and he held me down with his arms, like he was holding my arms down really tight. He was really strong. He played football, so he was kind of like a bigger guy. And I couldn't move, and so I tried to kick him, which I then was like, you shouldn't have done that because now it's gonna get worse. So then he climbed on me and tried to force my legs open. And he pushed his knee so hard into me that I just had bruises and I just couldn't move. And he forced me to have sex with him that night, and that's the night that I went blank that night. Like I just tried to block it out, and even to this day, like I don't think about it very much, I don't like to. But that's the moment where I was like, I need to get out of this relationship, like now.
So she's gone, as you shared, that it went from a physical relationship, emotionally, verbally abusive, and now there's been date rape, and there have been physical relationships that was beyond. So at the end of your senior year, you've been kind of hiding this and not really talking about it with your friends, and you're just like internalizing and making excuses, and then maybe it'll get better, but you're so deep into this relationship. Finally, someone witnessed some physical and verbal assault on you. Who was that, and what did they do about it?
It was my cousin. Him and I were very close growing up, and after prom, I actually broke up with him, with the person I was dating. And my dad had a Super Bowl party, and I didn't know he called him and invited him. And my parents didn't know that I broke up with him, so he shows up to my house, and I'm like, what are you doing here?
Because you still had never talked to your parents about all this stuff that had been going on, yeah.
And so when he was leaving, I didn't talk to him that whole night, and so when he was leaving, he's yelling at me, like, you didn't talk to me, you were being mean to me, you just ignored me. And I was like, I didn't want you here, I wanted you to leave. And at that point, where we lived, there was a big gate, and he's walking out, and I remember him trying to come at me, so I threw the gate in his face. And as I'm throwing the gate in his face, he pulls me and pushes me against the garage. And my cousin pulls up in his car and looks at me and doesn't say anything, and doesn't try to defend me. And I didn't know if I wanted him to, but after I processed it, I was like, I wanted you to help me, and I was looking at you like, please come help me, because I couldn't get out of it. And he just said, I'm sorry, and didn't think anything of it.
So you feel complete betrayal by your cousin, because you really wanted someone to finally, like, here's someone's witnessing and seeing what's going on, and that happened. And then there was another betrayal shortly after. Who betrayed you next, and what happened?
So my best friend all through high school, her and I were very close, and we were hanging out one day, and she's like, I need to tell you something. And she said that she had gotten an STD from somebody that she had slept with. And I said, okay, well, and I had the car, so I was like, I'll go ahead and drive you to the hospital. And I took her, and she got her medicine and everything, and she was very grateful. And as we get back in the car, she's like, I need to tell you something. She's like, I slept with your boyfriend, and he's the one that had the STD. And I was just like, okay, so then that probably means I did too. And shortly after, I went to the doctor because I needed to get a physical for work. And they took my blood and everything, and as I went up into the doctor's office, the nurse comes in and she's like, you need to get medication because you have an STD and I can't give it to you because your parents have to sign off on it, so I need you to call your mom or your dad. So I go to the car and I'm crying and I'm freaking out, and I called my mom, and of course my mom was very, very angry, so she goes, I'm not coming, so you need to call your dad. So I call my dad, and I'm more scared of my dad than my mom. And so my dad comes and doesn't say anything, gets the medicine, takes me home, and never said anything to me about it because he was so angry.
So I cannot even imagine the betrayal of being in a relationship that was so abusive, and then to find out that your best friend slept with him, and then that now both of you have an STD. So we graduate and you head off to college, and of all colleges, you end up at a Christian college. At what college did you go to?
I went to Cal Baptist in Riverside.
All right. And did he reach out to you? So you guys went separate ways, and I know that there was another little piece of the betrayal is that her cousin that didn't step in ended up rooming with this guy in college, so she just felt even more like, are you kidding me? But you guys are at separate schools, and you guys, he still is contacting you, is that right?
So both him and I didn't go to the same high school either. So we would see each other here and there on the weekends. And so Cheryl said when he started roommating with my cousin, and my cousin didn't tell me, I was like, why did you do that? And then I told him, I'm like, please don't be his roommate. And he didn't listen to me. So then on, he kept trying to call me, and finally I answered one night. And he's like, I want you to come out here and come to a party with me. I want to talk to you. I want to just hang out with you and kind of like hash everything out that happened. And I said no. And so then he hung up on me. And then a few nights after that, he calls me, and I was on speaker, and I knew I was on speaker because I could hear my cousin. My cousin was like, oh, you're talking to Bri? And he's like, yeah. And then he went off on me and said everything, the worst possible thing I guess you can say to anybody, and just kept going for like 30 minutes. And I hung up the phone, and that was the last time I ever talked to him.
And so then you decide what about dating? After all of this like craziness, and here you had started at the sweet 16 and thinking like, this is my mom's best friend's stepson, like this is cute, you met at a baby shower, this is a cute little story, and then it turns south, you're off at college and you kind of decided to not date for a while. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So you took a break from dating, you had a best guy friend that you just kind of hung out with, but then your next boyfriend that came along your senior year was some cute boy who wanted to be a pastor, who likes to wear cute clothes. Yeah, sweatsuit. It was sweatsuit. Much different than your last boyfriend. So you started dating who?
Started dating Matt. We started. And he was the first guy that I went around that I wasn't scared to actually be around. Because I was so scared to date anybody, and I kind of put this stigma on every guy that I met that you're gonna do something to me, and I was always on like alert of like something's gonna happen. Sometimes even my dad would hug me, and I would flinch because I was like, you're gonna hit me, but he really wasn't because he was my dad. But things like that would just get me really riled up. But Matt and I started dating 3 months before we graduated, and then a year, 2 years after dating, we got engaged, and then we got married.
You've been married for 8 months. It's really cool that, she kind of took a break from dating for a while, and instead of being forever scared, God just totally worked in bringing a true godly man into her life, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but your thoughts about God during this whole time. Were you going to church? Where did you think God was? How was that for you?
So I grew up Catholic, so every Sunday my mom wanted us to go to church with her, and so at that time I told her, I was like, I'm not going to go because I don't like God and I don't believe in God anymore because God kind of left me. So every time like something would happen with David, sorry, I'm always listening, but the person I was dating, I would like pray, laying there, like as he's holding me down, and it was like nothing was going on. I just felt like, why is he still doing this to me? Like, God, where are you at, kind of thing. And I was like, he's nowhere to be found, so I'm done. And so I didn't go to church, I didn't pray, I didn't do anything. And even when I felt like I was going with my mom, I was just going through the motions of it. Like I was just sitting there to make her happy, but not necessarily wanting anything from God at that point.
So she just kind of went through the motions of the Catholic Church time to time. But then how did you get to this point, from being hurt and broken to now being a pastor's wife and sitting up here on a stage? But how did you get through that hurt, and what changed, and how did you come and have a relationship with Jesus?
So going to CBU, you had to take a class called chapel. So chapel is kind of like a mini church service. You do worship and then somebody comes and preaches. And I would go because I wanted to pass. And so I didn't really like it because I was like, this is all God. And sometimes I would sit in there and do my homework, which is really bad. But I would. And one time this lady came up there and she was talking about abuse in our relationship and how God helped her and how God showed her all this grace because she had obviously made poor choices with that person, and I was like, I did the same exact thing. And I had never heard anybody speak about it. I had never known anybody else that gone through it. So I felt like at that moment, like maybe God's trying to tell me something. Maybe this is finally the time, like 6 years later, that I need to actually deal with this. And so that was the first time I actually wanted to experience God in a different way.
And then, when did you find the healing and forgiveness, even forgiving yourself as you look back at how broken you were? You kind of had an experience once, and where was that, and how did that happen?
So it was actually Matt's birthday. It was like the first month we were dating, and he wanted to go to a Hillsong concert, and I didn't even know what that was. So I was like, all right, I guess we're going to a concert because I'm your girlfriend now, and I don't know what I'm doing. So we went, and it was the coolest thing I've ever experienced. The lead singer was talking about grace and how sometimes we make poor choices, but God always gives you that grace, and God heals you through a lot of things. And I remember just standing there like crying, and I didn't know why I was crying, but I started realizing that like Jesus was trying to tell me something. Jesus was really trying to get me to forgive that person and to forgive myself, because I felt like if no man was going to accept me, why would Jesus accept me? If I had gone through all this awful stuff and I made the choice to go through all of that, why would he accept me back?
I love that God used worship to get to your heart. And I think that so often we come in here and we're like, oh, the band's playing a song, and we like jump or we sing a few songs. But worship, if you take time to use it as a prayer and read the words of the song, they are so powerful, and they can break right through and hit to the core of what's going on in your heart. Bri, you've shared that you've never shared this story before. You guys, only about 5 people in the world know everything that Bri has been through, but yet you wanted to share it here. What prompted you to be bold as a total introvert who has not held a microphone before? What prompted you to get up here and want to share your story so honestly with students?
A month ago, actually, I had a dream, and I don't really have dreams when I sleep, so it was weird. And I remember telling Matt, I was like, I'm a little bit freaked out right now because I had a dream that I was standing on a stage, or I guess no sitting.
You can stand up really quick.
And talking to a bunch of kids about the person that hurt me the most in my life, and I was like, what does that mean? And he's just like, I don't know, and then he just had a dream about it. So at that moment I was like, maybe I should do it, because maybe somebody needs to hear it, and maybe somebody will be able to get through it by hearing me say something about it.
I love that. And then you also shared that you and Matt had a heart-to-heart one night. Tell us a little about that. I'm sure in young married life, you have lots of heart-to-hearts as you navigate through marriage and as you've had this dream and stuff.
So I came home one night and I was having like a meltdown, like a typical Wednesday for me. And so I just started crying, like really bad. And I asked Matt, I was like, why do you pray over everybody else and all your students and all these people at work, but you never do it over me? And he's kind of staring at me like, oh my gosh. And I could tell he felt bad about it, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna pray for you. So he started praying for me, and I never close my eyes when I pray, I don't know why, but I just never do. And at that moment I was like, I'm just gonna close my eyes, and I did, and it was like I felt so calm and like so at peace, and I was like, maybe I should do this more often. And at that point, I had never been baptized as a Christian, but I was baptized as a baby in the Catholic Church. So I told Matt, I was like, maybe I should be baptized now. Maybe I should have that like within me to be able to express like what I feel inside. And so in our apartment complex, there's a huge pool and a jacuzzi. And Matt was like, let's just go baptize you. So I put on like this raggedy hoodie and we went outside, and I stood in front of the pool. I was like, it is way too cold, so can we do it in the jacuzzi, please? So we go both fully clothed, and this lady's at the gym, and there's like windows, and she's just staring at us. And I'm like, okay, she probably thinks we're crazy. So we both go in, and Matt baptized me, and it was just him and I, and at that moment in my life, I'd never felt more at peace with everything, and I felt like everything, I just was able to like let it go. So I had held on to a lot of things, especially this, for 5 to 6 years, and I finally was able to let it go.
Guys, that is the most beautiful thing, that there was that honesty in a marriage, that Matt prayed over and got to baptize his wife, and that is something that just happened recently. Bri, you sharing your story, I know that there's people out that are listening that can relate to parts of your story, whether it be that they're in a bad relationship. Maybe some of you are being verbally abused, you're being talked to in a controlling way by someone. Someone's making you feel like you're unworthy. Maybe there's been some physical abuse, whether you've been pushed, hit, squeezed, dominated by someone else. Sexually abused, forced to do things. Sometimes we hear sexual abuse and you think, Uncle Bud, whatever uncle it is in that AGE video, whatever, like you think of that, right? But but not Uncle Bud, that's a funny movie. But in reality, you guys, there's some of you are going through sexual abuse. You're being forced to do things sexually, whether it's giving a blowjob or whether it's being forced to have sex beyond what you wanted to do. Maybe you've been raped. What would you tell someone who's walking through one of those things? I know that you had shared something with me just about abuse, that it doesn't have to be hitting and choking and slamming your head into a wall. Someone could be degrading you, humiliating you, blaming you, screaming at you, lying to you, cheating on you, withholding finances and trying to control you. It is all beyond what is God's design for a healthy relationship and what a healthy relationship should look like. So what would you say to someone who's walking through something like that?
I would say don't let it define who you are as a person, because sometimes we go through hard things, but in the end, Jesus made that happen for a reason, and your story is your story, and that part can heal somebody else as much as it can heal you. And I just think to stay connected to God is the big thing, because I wish I did that, because maybe I wouldn't have felt so much pain. But just stay connected to God. Have friends around you that you can trust. And if it is happening to you, I would just suggest that you tell somebody that you really trust, an adult, so they can help you. And try not to keep it all to yourself, because there are people that love you and want to help you.
You guys, don't let what you've been through define you. Bri shared a scripture with me that I want to share with you, and that's Psalms 147, 3-5. It says, He heals the brokenhearted, He binds up their wounds and determines the number of scars and gives to them names. Great is our God and abundant in power. His understanding is beyond measure. I'm going to pray for us, and I'm going to go into a time of worship. Bri and I are going to be in the back along with a lot of other leaders, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but we're here for you. That's what growth groups are about. That's what services are about. We want to walk through life with you. So would you bow your heads with me before we go into a time of worship? Heavenly Father, God, you know every little detail about our life. And God, I just thank you for Bri's boldness in being obedient.